On this edition of inCycle, we'll find out what connects cycling with religion in Belgium.
The exhibition is set up in ways that you can follow pilgrimage, actually, which takes you past 10 cycling chapels.
Which are the deals that make the peloton go round? It's that time of year again. It's transfer season.
The second rest day of the tour, it's probably the biggest transfer day of the year. Maybe contracts aren't getting signed, but there's deals getting done.
But first, the Women's World Tour conquers the Col d'Izoire at La Course.
I think it's a massive opportunity for any of the real climbers in the peloton. In women's cycling, there aren't really that many opportunities for them. So if you're a purist, then it's a race for you, I think. I only know what my parents have told me. They rode up it yesterday. Dad said it wasn't that hard. Mum said it was really hard. So that's about as much as I know.
It's the first time in my career that we can do a climb like that, and I'm so excited to start there. I think I was here with the age of 13 or 14 with my parents for holiday, and actually it's like a dream to be now here for racing.
I think for all of us it's just to soak up the experience and the vibe and the atmosphere. Already yesterday we saw all the camper vans parked and people getting ready to support the tour, so I think that's going to be something really different, and yeah, our objective is just to soak it all up and see what comes from that.
This isn't a part of the world that we come to very often, and it's one of the first time I've really raced properly in the Alps. We saw the Motorolo last year in the Giro, but that's the closest thing I think we've seen to this long of a climb. And so it really is a new territory, new challenge for us. There are still 40 or so kilometers of, I think, somewhat difficult racing before we actually hit the final climb. It could be aggressive with people trying to get up the road early. And then it'll really be interesting to see how the quote-unquote hill climbers tackle such a long climb.
Quite certain that there are teams that aren't so confident to leave it all for the final climb, so I'm imagining, some attacks and quite aggressive racing from the start.
Linda Willemsen goes on the attack. Great to see her back racing, the former world champion of the time trial, a New Zealander. You don't want to let her go.
In Gillestre, it's already going up quite hard in the city, in the village. And later it has a bit more a flat part with the tunnels. And after the tunnels, you start going up already in the valley, turn left, and then the climb really starts.
As we see this group, this little trio, but it looks to me like Lizzie Deignan is just riding this one back. She's not too worried at all about what is happening. For the first time, Linda Willemsen looks around and sees the peloton just behind her and realises that her time in the lead is over. And then I think we're going to see some fireworks. 9K to go. This pace is absolutely prolific here by Lizzie Deignan. She's literally riding the riders off her wheel.
It's a case of suffering, really. Climbing is all about suffering. I mean, obviously physiology comes into it, but psychologically it's a massive challenge. It's all about suffering for about an hour, I think.
I think it's also a lot about pacing, if you go once too far into the red, you never come out of it on a climb like that. So I think it's about keeping that in mind, but of course there's going to be some girls that I think are willing to just put it all out there.
This is the attack from Annemiek van Vleuten, who ups the tempo. She's decided it's time to go.
I think you need to know your point of suffering very well. And yeah, for sure, it's also something similar to time trialing. I think you really need to feel this, and you need to know yourself and your body very well to do that in a good way.
And now another big attack. It comes from Annemiek van Vleuten of Orica Scott. She ups the tempo, 4.4 kilometers to go.
You come out of the woods and you cross a little top, and actually you come out into another world where you are kind of a desert, and yeah, then you can see already the top, where you have to go, where you have the switchbacks and where the finish line will be.
The longer you're involved in the sport and maybe more competitive you become, you start to realize that actually at the top end of competition, it's sometimes more mental than what it is physical. You know, of course, the physical aspect is very important, and talent and training and all that kind of stuff plays a big role. But at the end of the day, that small minor differences in terms of marginal gains or small percentages, that often comes down to the mental side.
Annemiek van Vleuten is going to win this stage of La Course by Le Tour de France on the famed Izoard. An incredible climb. Second place is going to be Lizzie Deignan.
I had my mum's sort of words of wisdom in the back of my mind. She said that the bit through the trees was the hardest. So once I was through the trees, I was like, right, got mum's advice, I'm all right.
In Holland, everyone's still talking about Leontien van Moorsel years ago that she was winning on the Alpe d'Huez, and I hope at this kind of finish that people also will talk about it, and that they will continue to talk about it, like maybe you can next year have a stage race or something. It's not a game today, it's just to be the strongest uphill, and the strongest did win today, and I'm really happy and proud that it was me today.
Visit Flanders and many will tell you that to them, cycling is their life. In fact, cycling is a religion is a statement that the Roeselare Cycling Museum proudly portrays at its latest exhibition. While the museum's original site is undergoing refurbishment, what better temporary home than the Father's Church of Roeselare?
My name is Louise de Brabandere and I work here in the Wieler Museum in Roeselare.
My name is Dries de Zijteet. I am the museum's researcher. I think we show around 40 bikes. The oldest bike is from the 1930s. All the great riders are represented. We show, I think, around 60 jerseys. They represent the whole history of cycling from the beginning until now.
There are 160 portraits of cyclists. They are a part of a book that we wrote about the exhibitions. We inhabited the church with brand new exhibition, Koers is religie, so cycling is a religion. The exhibition is set up in ways that you can follow. Pilgrimage, actually, which takes you past 10 cycling chapels.
You see every year the Tour of Flanders, it's here in Belgium. The cyclists are crazy about this race. This is the race of the year.
The biggest one, we think, in Flanders is Koolskamp Koers. It's the championship of Flanders, so it's a bit different than the Tour of Flanders. It's around the city of Koolskamp, which is quite big here in Flanders. We devoted the fifth chapel to Eddy Merckx, who is one of our own famous Flandrians. He's represented there with his bicycle and an icon of him. It's the poster child for many campaigns. There's songs about him, there are books, there are pictures, there's just everything about him.
You see pictures of Eddy Merckx. Races of the Giro were welcomed by the Pope.
Even the Vatican has their own cycling team, which is Amore Vita, and the Pope is like an honorary member of the team. He has his own membership card hanging here, which is pretty cool actually.
So Van den Broek, he is represented here with some jerseys, but also with a trophy, his trophy of Liège-Bastogne-Liège in 1999. He was very, very talented, but he had also a lot of rock and roll. Yeah, you know his story with drugs, women. Here in Belgium, people, they forgive guys like Van den Broek such mistakes, which gives these guys more and more the statue of a god.
So our ninth chapel is the confession booth. It's Lance Armstrong who's confessing his doping usage in the Tour of France.
Yes or no?
We show also 2 jerseys, one of the Festina team, who is of course linked with the Tour de France 1989. Team Soigneur Willy Voet, who was caught on the French border with his car full of dope. Another shirt is from the Gewis team.
The 10th chapel is actually my favorite chapel. It's all about superstitions. The number 13 for a lot of people is a bad number. So most cyclists spell the number upside down on their jersey. We have an example of that from Cancellara. There's the superstition about the rainbow jersey as well. The rainbow jersey is the bearer of bad luck for some cyclists. There are a lot of examples like Tom Simpson, who was a world champion, and then Jean-Pierre Montseri, who also won the rainbow jersey and died the next year.
Sagani's down! No! Sagani's down! Taken Van Avermaet with him! Narsen's there! And that could be it!
So they say there is a big curse around the rainbow jersey.
I think nowadays the attention to religion is very downsized in France. For many people, they see Peter Sagan maybe as a surrogate for the real God. You can see pictures of, for example, Sagan after he won Tour de Flanders. He stood up on the team car. People were cheering him just like he was a god.
Religion is quite big in the cycling world.
The Tour de France can be busy and chaotic. 3 weeks of hard work and pressure. And while the eyes of most fans are fixed on the battle for the yellow jersey, around the team buses and hotels, an entirely different side of the sport is playing out. The transfer season is fast approaching, and the race for rider contracts hotting up.
A lot of stuff goes on during the Tour de France, that's for sure. It's a fast-moving event from a business side aspect and from a sporting side.
There are lots of conversations happen now, so rider agents come and they talk to the teams and ask which kind of type riders you're looking for, climbers or GC contenders or sprinters or whatever. And then, I guess the conversations happen, and then from 1st of August, yeah, it's a busy time of the year. Like for the rest day for me yesterday I had meetings from like literally 8 in the morning till close to midnight. So it's a busy time.
So who exactly are team bosses of the peloton facing on the opposite side of the table? To find out, inCycle went in search of the sometimes mysterious character, the rider agent. With over 100 agents licensed and certified by the UCI, not all of them are unfamiliar faces to cycling fans.
Hi, I'm Baden Cook and I'm a rider agent. Well, I wasn't really expecting to retire at the end of 2013, so I thought I had another couple of good years in me. So it was a kind of a bit of a surprise when I didn't get renewed by Orica. I had an idea in the back of my head to become an agent, a rider agent, but not so soon.
I'm Drew Smets. I'm the agent of many riders in the peloton. We represent around 60 guys, of which the main ones are Michael Matthews, current green jersey holder here at the Tour de France. Philippe Gilbert, winner of Tour of Flanders this year. Greg van Avermaet, Olympic champion, winner of Roubaix. Zdeněk Štibar, runner-up in Roubaix. So we have been around for about 18 years with our agency called Celio Sport and Image, and I took over at the beginning of this year. I've been doing the job for 11 years now. So yeah, we're one of the main agencies for rider management in the peloton.
There is far more rules and regulations than you would expect, and certainly many would assume that being a professional bike rider you would know all the rules and regulations, and I can tell you that's not the case at all. The rule book for the agents is quite extensive, and it took me, I studied for 2 months solid to pass the test. They're officially allowed to start signing riders from the 1st of August. The transfer period starts then, and that's when a lot of riders are announced. For example, yesterday, the second rest day of the tour, it's probably the biggest transfer day of the year. Maybe contracts aren't getting signed, but deals are getting done. Agreements are being made verbally, and people are pretty much knowing where they're going to go. And then basically everyone waits for the 1st of August to sign the contracts, and they go from there.
Obviously, we're here now at the Tour de France. This is, I would say, the most busy period of the year, and that is as far as goes the contract negotiations with teams, because teams are now starting to fill up their rosters for next year. So we are around and we meet up with team managers just to try and position our riders with those teams, and you know, see what teams are interested in them, and at what financial level we're talking. In cycling, you can only negotiate contracts for riders who are at the end of their contract in the current year. So we do not go and sell riders that still have a year contract or even more left with their current team. That's different to other sports such as football, for example, where you can really do transfers being in a contract. That's not the case in cycling. So at the beginning of the year, we know which of our riders are at the end of their contracts with their team. Then we talk with them and we see, are they happy on their current team, or would they rather go and look elsewhere, and then see which teams they would be interested in. And then our job is to go and talk with those team managers, and obviously also see if there's an interest from their side, because it needs to be a mutual interest in order to be able to conclude a contract. And so basically we explain to the team manager of those teams what the position of the rider is. Also sometimes, you know, if things go well, you can talk about the good results, but sometimes riders have had some difficult times, and then you can explain why.
Now, while you'd expect an agent to be enemy number one of any team boss, do a quick survey and it suggests otherwise.
Generally speaking, it's a good thing to have sort of an intermediary that's you know, that the rider views as a completely objective source. I mean, it's not to say that I've never gotten into it with an agent. I mean, clearly I have. I mean, you develop an emotional connection with the riders on the race, and training them and coaching them, and you know, so on and so forth. And then all of a sudden you get to discussing money, and that emotional connection can really erode. Having an intermediary where you can just negotiate on a business level and not on a you know, a friendship, coaching, whatever level is, I think, really helpful.
Obviously, you try always to make the good negotiation for both parties, because the win-win is always the best solution. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not easy, but it's part of the job that we need to deal with.
They can be sometimes the devils of the industry, but I mean, for the most part, they're individuals that focus and look after riders, and they want the maximum and the best for their riders. And so we deal with them on a daily basis, I guess, during a Tour de France like this, when you're trying to define your strategy for the next year and who's on the market and who's not, and trying to plug some holes in as a team. So yeah, I mean, we engage with them often, and all that we've lost, we've got a rider that is leaving our team now that we didn't want to lose, and it wasn't a nice process that we went through, but it is what it is, I guess. So some are understanding and care about the culture of a team, and a riders fit into that, and then some are pretty hostile, and it can be a real bad process.
In cycling, I think we all try to respect the rules, and team managers also, they respect the rules in that matter. So it's a very, I think it's a very correct business we do, as opposed to sometimes in the stories you hear from other sports. And it makes it in a way easier, because we don't have to go and try and sell riders, although they still have a contract, but try to get them out of there to make money on a transfer and stuff like that. No, it's you work for all your riders, but you go and try and find a contract deal for riders that are out of contract. It's as simple as that. So it's a very controlled market. You've got 18 World Tour teams, you've got around 18 or 20 Pro Continental teams, and that's it. That's the whole market. So in football, you've got thousands of football teams all around the world, so it's very less controlled.
The relationship between rider and agent varies greatly, and it's one that extends far beyond the negotiating table.
We also take care of their taxes, insurances, administration problems, residency issues, which is becoming more and more an issue for a lot of guys, for Australians, for Americans coming over to Europe, getting a visa done for them. So we really try to give them a full service package, not just only negotiating their team contract and then bye-bye and see you again in 2 years' time when your contract runs out, but really being there on a daily basis for them for any problem they might have linked to their profession.
Some riders are needy, and some riders only need to speak to you in contract time when it's the transfer period. They want to know everything then. The rest of the time they don't want to talk to you. Some guys need they need to talk to you all the time, just about personal stuff, and And I end up being friends with most of them, so that's not an issue.
Such is the financial instability of cycling. There are conditions that put agents under pressure. And the 2016 season, when 2 World Tour teams ceased to exist, was certainly one of those.
When you're a rider, when you're an agent, and even when you're a fan, it's always a pity to see big teams fold. And that's things that give riders reason not to sleep at night. When you do the math, there's 2 teams stopping, there's only 1 starting. That's 30 guys going to be out of jobs, and then you consider that each team takes on 3 or 4 young guys, so that's 18 times 4 more guys that are going to be pushed out the other end who are older. Everyone's always doing the mathematics. Where am I going to be? Am I going to have a team? Am I going to have to drop down to Pro Continental? And it's really, really stressful.
That's also one of the parts of our job, is to know what the market looks like. And so at the beginning of the year, we already know, due to our contacts and the way that we can get that information, we know which teams will have to look for new sponsorship for the upcoming year. So we can already see what that's going to bring on the market as an effect. And so last year, for example, we knew that there were IAM and Tinkoff that were the 2 teams that were in danger, I would say, for the upcoming year. So then you try to anticipate that by trying to finalize contracts as soon as possible, because you know that the longer the season will take, the bigger the chance will be that everybody will see the effects on the market. This year, it's a lot more stable. All of the World Tour teams will continue for next year. There was one question mark, which was Quickstep, but it seems very likely that they're going to continue, so that's okay. So all the World Tour teams continue. There's a few Pro Continental teams, that's the 2nd division, that might even increase their budget. So this year is a good market for the riders.
And with August the 1st fast approaching, that market is about to reopen. That's all for this week. Join us next time on inCycle, but until then, keep up to date with us on social media.